So I must. Well, I went through all this once before. Let's see if I remember what I say. Hello, thank you for joining me. I'm Stephen Englander, and welcome to Between the Spreadsheets. On tonight's show, I thought we'd have a look at some wealthy people, some different types of investments, and just compare some personality traits that you have that are considered one way at home and one way at work. Hayden, is the sound working?
It is working, and unusually for any of the shows out of this studio, I will take full responsibility for that error.
Is it like, come back, Graham, or we're not that desperate? No. Okay. Right. Let's have a look at some wealthy people. Do you think I should start at number 10 and work my way down to 1, or should I start at number 1 and go to 10?
Start at 10.
Okay. In 10th place, we've got someone called Steve Ballmer, who's a former CEO of Microsoft, and he's worth $98.5 billion. I mean, I just can't conceive this sort of money. Then we've got a guy called Sergey Brin, who's worth $115 billion, and he was a co-founder of Google. Warren Buffett, we all know Warren with his Coca-Cola, and what was his company called? Hathaway. Something Hathaway, and he's a hedge fund investor and Biden redevelops companies. He's in his 90s and he's worth $117 billion. I think we'd like this in thousands, wouldn't we? Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg at number 7 is worth $117.5 billion. And someone called, I've never heard of Larry Page, have you, Hayden? $119.4 billion. And again, he's one of the co-founders of Google, with Larry Ellison, who was the founder of Oracle, which is some quite sophisticated software. I've sort of heard it. I think it's business software, but I've never actually used it.
Java,
is that who it is?
Pretty big deal. Yeah.
Oh, well, so number 5. At number 4, we've got at $134.5 billion, I just can't say these numbers, is Bill Gates, with Bernard Arnault and family at $187.6 billion, and they own the Louis Vuitton empire. And of course, at number 2, $188 billion, and is Jeff Bezos, I always say it wrong. And in first place, the richest man in the world is Elon Musk, worth $268.1 billion. A lot of money out there.
I'm confused by why there's nobody from any of the oil nations in there, because some of those families,
I think maybe they don't want to be known.
Yeah, I'm thinking that might be the case, because I'm pretty sure they're up there. But I mean, 100 billion.
It's just not money we can conceive of. But is that the correct way to measure someone's wealth? You know, how do you measure someone's wealth? I mean, this is their apparent net worth, but net worth it's a funny thing because it changes. It's like most people have a property. We have a house. Now, your own home shouldn't really be considered as a measure of your wealth, because it's not really an investment like you think. You're buying a home, you're buying somewhere to live, and you rarely release that equity to do anything that you want to. All it does is give you another home, or you move to a retirement home. So unless you actually sell up and rent a place, you never get the benefit. So don't take your house in. But for the point of this chat, if you have a house and your house is worth £400,000, that's based on market value today. So tomorrow it might be worth more, it might be worth less. So it goes up and down depending on market conditions, which means your net wealth goes up and down. It's like if Elon, he's got his company shares, of which he might own 90% of the shares or 30% of the shares or whatever he owns, and his shares are worth in the open market, £100 billion. But that doesn't mean say he's got the cash in the bank or he's got access to actually use that money. It's paper wealth, which can go up and down. Now, maybe truer wealth is the amount of money you can actually have at your disposal. And when you think about a small business, there's many people people watching this that have got a turnover within the business of several millions of pounds. So say you've got a turnover of £2 million or £500,000, you've got £2 million at your disposal to spend as you want to spend it. Obviously you can't go on too many cruises with that, but still you can move money around, which is what wealth really is. It's moving money, it's buying things, it's spending it. So maybe we should look at people's actual turnover and then even go even more and say, well, what are people's actual net profits? So what are the profits? Should you be measured by the actual money you end up with in your bank account that you can go and spend, rather than say, well, I've got a £50,000 investment in several gold nuggets. It's interesting how they do measure wealth. Personally, I don't think it matters as long as we're all happy and we can pay our way. Would you like to be happy and pay your way, Hayden?
No.
No, I know. New feeling, eh?
I'd like £100 billion.
What would you do with it?
Be absolutely untouchable and get up to the sort of things that you wouldn't even dare read about in the newspapers.
I don't know why I asked.
I can't even begin on this family-friendly show to tell you what I would get up to.
Try. Just do something more sort of like user-friendly.
Well, are you familiar with Idi Amin?
Yes.
Yeah. Nothing compared to what I would be like, I'll be honest.
So, talking about wealth, Idi Amin wasn't one of the richest person of all time. Do you know who was basically the wealthiest person, the wealthiest man that's ever existed in the history of the world?
Croesus.
No.
No, who?
No. It was a guy called Mansa Musa I of Mali. He was basically the first king of Timbuktu. And he got his money from salt and gold mines, and in 1375, which would make him worth about $400 billion today.
And he couldn't even spend it on anything cool.
What could you buy with it in those days?
What
could
a
you?
waste.
I mean, he was selling gold, so he didn't go and invest in gold. What could you do?
My word.
Well, you just ruled a country, didn't you? You just,
Yeah, that's what I'd do with $400 billion. You could buy any country you like.
Yeah, or go to war with any country you like.
Oh, now you're talking.
I bet he didn't set up a corner shop or a corner off license, did he? Do you know who the second wealthiest man ever was, the wealthiest person that's ever lived?
Croesus.
No.
It's the only answer I've got. Eventually
he's
we'll
the
get
only
there.
person you've ever heard of.
Eventually we'll get there.
Worth between $300 and $400 billion in today's terms was Nicholas II.
Tsar Nicholas II.
Tsar Nicholas II, Mr. Well, what was it? King Romanov of Russia.
Wow, no wonder they put an end to that family.
Yeah, no. Well, yeah, oh yeah, because they proved that Anastasia was a fraud all along, didn't they?
Oh yeah,
The
they
DNA
murdered
testing.
every last one of that family.
Yeah.
They made incredibly sure.
I saw the film. It was quite upsetting.
Oh, it was awful. It was absolutely terrible. And
What was
they
the
gave
monk
us
called? I was a big fan.
the monk.
Rasputin.
Yes.
That was him. The
Yeah.
mad monk.
He came to an end before the Romanovs, obviously, but
Yeah.
a very bad end.
Yeah, but didn't Boney M sing a song about him?
Yeah, I'm not sure about the actual accuracy of the lyrics.
But sing. Can you remember it? Can you sing it?
No.
Oh, I can't either. You know something? Investment. People are always asking me about investment, and I'm saying I don't know. So I don't know about investment because I invest in my businesses, and I don't buy and sell. I push my products, my businesses. Most people I know, if you've got a business, it's great. But what if you've got a bit of surplus cash and you fancy a bit of investment? Well, I don't like things that are controlled by other people. Like, I hate crypto. All the way down the line, I hate crypto. You just know it's just one big nonsense. It's all going to collapse. But, apparently whiskey, buying bottles of whiskey, if you know what you're doing. But again, you've got to know what you're doing. So no good for me because I don't know much about whiskey. And I know the people that do know about whiskey would probably drink it. But apparently it's outdone gold in value and sports cars, and watches and classic cars and all that type of thing. And you know what else has done really, really well, Hayden? Lego.
Now I can believe that.
Lego has increased in value more than gold. And I'm not just talking about the stock prices. I'm talking about the like the things people build with them, like these different ones like Millennium Falcon,
Yeah, have you seen the
Star Wars
prices
stuff.
on those things?
They're mad, but people have been building them and getting a return on them, or just buying them and keeping them. But it's like all these things like comics and collectibles in general. They do go, people go mad with them.
But here's the problem I have with this. You invest in the comics, you keep them in cellophane. You invest in the sports car, you keep it in a garage, climate controlled, covered. You don't. It's like guitars. It always breaks my heart that people go and buy 1958 Les Pauls for hundreds of thousands of pounds, knowing
Don't use them.
that they will double their investment, but you can't play it.
No, I think it's nice to have things packaged. I used to collect comics and newspapers and magazines and stuff like that, and it's nice just to look at them sometimes.
Were you
It's
one
nice.
of those kids that used to keep all the toys in the boxes?
Not toys. I was never a big toy. I like the comics, so I've got the first edition of Spider-Man, and it's nice. I've framed it and put it on the wall, and it's just memories, like. This particular comic was 1972, and I've got ones going back a bit earlier. It's just nice looking, the frames, and it's.
You had a lot more comics, didn't you?
Oh, I did.
You had a massive collection.
I did. I had a big collection, but divorce and spite,
Liquidated
and
your
stuff like
assets.
that. Yeah, it wasn't very nice, but but this is it. But I think the thing here is that investment can, you've got to know what you're doing, but it can be fun as well. So it's like, but you know what, shares have done incredibly well, especially since COVID. Shares in pet companies, and they reckon it's one of the biggest growing trends to invest in.
There's been a massive boom in people owning pets. Unfortunately, though, I'd have to keep an eye on that, because there has been a massive increase in people getting rid of pets. Yes, because they found out that you have responsibilities when you own a pet.
I've got, Melanie has got. And she says that the owner of the dog is the one that cleans up its poo, and I won't do that, so they're her dogs. But they're quite sweet. It's nice having animals around. But it's like with everything. If you invest in something because you enjoy it, and you get a bit of a fun out of it. So if you like collecting comics or Lego or anything else, it's good. It's also nice to know that it can be a better investment than gold, and that's saying something. But that's true of traditional and digital art, because art's quite a big thing. So and it's something that you should know what you're doing, of course, because money's involved. But there's also that side of it, that because you like it and you get pleasure out of the thing itself. That's what I like about these types of investments. Buying stocks and shares doesn't do it for me. Buying blocks of certificates of gold doesn't do it. Buying crypto, buying traditional investments, it's a money thing. But when you like something in its own right, then that's great.
We do have a comment related to this that does show a flaw in one of the investments. Happy Dog says, "Hello, Happy Dog. I thought about getting into collecting whiskies, spent about £500 and got some 15-year aged whiskey.
Okay.
6 weeks later, the bottles were empty.
Yeah, but this is what I said. There's those that know what they're doing, they buy it, and there's others that drink it.
It's not a great return, is it?
But it depends. It depends. How did you get on with it? Was it a pleasurable thing to do? Was it £500 well spent? Did you sleep a long time after you drunk this stuff?
He couldn't tell the difference between that and like white spirit.
I can imagine Richie, our favourite broadcaster, Richie Allen, collecting whiskey. Can you?
Briefly.
Yeah, very briefly. Hi, Richie. I'll have to go out for that curry after I had to.
He's been very
carry
poorly.
You to the, what's the matter?
He's had the
whiskey overdose.
No, the neurovirus.
Oh, he's not. Oh, that's horrible.
I had that a couple of years ago, and that's very unfortunate. So he's been a bit under the. He's lost about, I think, nearly £10 in weight.
Really, he's quite slim anyway.
Yeah.
Luxury collectibles and stocks, stuff like that. Luxury. I mean. My Melanie would be very happy to hear that, despite me moaning about these types of handbags and saying that they're just crap made out of, how can anything made out of cloth be worth that? They apparently, people that have been buying these luxury items like Hermes handbags, certain types of Hermes handbags, have had a 17% return, which, when you think the banks are barely giving 1%, it's pretty good, isn't it? So if you spent £100,000 on Hermes bags, you'd have made £17,000. Don't go out and buy £100,000 worth of Hermes bags. But if you're into Hermes bags and you're into Chanel, you're into your branded bags, there is an argument, all you ladies out there that want to speak to your husbands, that they can be a little bit of an investment. Anyway, just back to business. Do you know that train firms have had trains have had a bit of a problem getting people travelling, and they want to get people back into the trains, commuting everywhere. So they're actually offering mindfulness programs where you go, no, they are. I know. Anything to get them on board. Mindfulness to get people back in, and they give you an app for your phone. And I'm not sure what mindfulness actually is. Is it sort of like meditation or just being in the moment or something? But that's what they do.
You're asking that question entirely the wrong room.
You're really the trigger point for every.
I've got no idea about mindfulness. I don't care. No. Do you know what I do know, though? The prices of train tickets. We're looking at bringing some actors up from London for the next film.
Yeah.
So we thought it'd be nice to send them first class. Well, an open return is about £94.
From London?
Yeah.
Is that one way?
No, open return.
Oh, open return. Is that one way?
I know you're not familiar with these terms. I understand.
I'll have you know, I did go because I went to London not that long ago with my daughter when she went back to uni.
She took care of the tickets and things and
she
spoke to them, didn't she? Yeah,
well,
I know.
No, it is Melanie that
the last time you used public transport, they basically involved a horse.
Yes.
Anyway, first class is £300 more.
Bloody hell.
You could fly them up for less.
Wow. But in the meantime, they're putting things like you have a cup of coffee, a mindfulness app. Some of them are giving sandwiches, all to lure people back in. That's the plan anyway. Free hot drinks and all sorts of perks to get them back. I mean, should people be doing that? Should you do freebies and incentives to make you buy things work?
I think with train travel, they're beholden to offer them with the prices that they charge for it.
Maybe just it should be, just part of the package.
Well, it used to be, didn't it?
Did it? I don't remember.
In the better day. I mean, obviously not if you were one of the common people.
I was one of the common people.
Yeah, of course you were, yes.
No, I just, it's just.
I've always said that about you, Stephen.
You see, what could Accounts Direct do as an incentive to recruit clients? Could we couldn't sort of give one, buy one free. And we couldn't sort of like say, take the accounts on and we'll throw payroll in because, everything's got a cost. And to do a job properly, you've got to build the cost in. Otherwise, you can't do it properly. So cutting corners and giving freebies isn't...
Sandwiches, though.
Sandwiches. Well, if people come to my office and they want to meet with us and they want a sandwich, they can have a sandwich. We've got clients that sometimes do come in. We send them to the kitchen. They can make their own. But
that's a scale, isn't it?
Well, it's. I haven't got time to make sandwiches, but if they want one, there's cheese and there's salad and there's probably some corned beef and there's all sorts in the fridge. They're very well come in and make a sandwich.
One of those fillings is not like the other.
Well, pick and choose. We've got a lot of people in the place. There's loads of food all over the place. The mice like it. But incentives. It is something. They do work, but I think they've got to be built into the program. You've got to get the right incentive. But why not? Do you watch? I'm going to change the subject now. Do you watch TV much?
No,
I do, more than I should. And it's something that I was moaning about last night, and I'm saying to myself, there's just nothing on. But there's tons on. In fact, so much on that you get overwhelmed by choice. And Netflix and all these streaming services, they're now wondering if they actually give us too much choice and confuse us and raise expectations that you've always got to watch the latest blockbuster rather than something that's maybe got a bit more quality to it. But the point I'm making on this is that I've often said, one of the first points a management consultant looks at, or a decent accountant, when he's reviewing a business performance, is sort of things like, what are the choices you give? Like restaurants, for instance. I'm sure every restaurateur out there will agree with me when I say that a smaller menu is a better menu financially for many reasons. Instead of giving everyone so much choice and overload and leading to overstocking on foods that might not sell. I went for lunch with my sister the other day, and she's a sort of vegan, and she says one of the good things about being a vegan vegetarian is that there's so little choice, so you'd have to think about it. You just say, I'll have that bit of lettuce, and that's what she gets. And because that's all there is, she makes sure she's focused on it and enjoys it. So she probably enjoys eating out more than I do when you've got a menu that you've got the lunchtime, the evening time, you've got that one, you've got 7 different versions of fish and chips, I think too much choice in business is not good. You know, have that one, have that one, have that one. You know, and I think that's true of shops. Have you ever noticed those posh shops that they've got 5 different types of clothes hanging up and that's it?
No.
Not Pilot High.
Where I go, they have many clothes.
But you get my gist.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you know, I agree completely with
yeah.
restaurateurs and menus, and in general.
Well,
how many
shops,
people
clothes
spend?
Shops,
you know, you mentioned Netflix, though.
Yeah.
I know I'm not alone in this at all. How many times have you spent that long looking for something to watch that in the end you go, well, I can't start anything now.
It's too late. And then you come off Netflix and you look at Amazon and you look at Disney and you look at ITV and, you know, before you know it, you can't watch anything because the battery in the remote controls
and it's 11:30 and you'll be good for nothing in the morning. Just very briefly, I know we're getting off topic here, but you did mention Disney. Have you been watching the Book of Boba Fett?
Oh, it's great.
Do you like it?
Oh, I do.
I'm undecided.
Yeah.
I love The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
But the Book of Boba Fett,
do you know, I think when you watch the Book of Boba Fett and The Mandalorian on the Disney Channel, which is a sort of like spin-off from the Star Wars series, I think you've got to expect something.
I expected a little more of Boba Fett, if I'm honest. However, I am looking forward to Obi-Wan. So
yes,
that's something. Watching a man grow old in the desert on his own should be fantastic.
But isn't it great the way they market these things?
Oh,
it's all image, isn't it?
Impeccable.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But again, the Disney Channel don't give you too much choice. They give you, they release things slowly and they keep you hooked. So you keep paying the fees for one new series every 3 months.
I actually prefer that about Amazon and Disney, though, unlike Netflix, because I don't like it when they dump 6 episodes at once.
I do, then I can get them over with.
Yeah, but I kind of like that clap back to my childhood where you had to wait a week.
But then I forget what the story's about. So
I'm not that far gone yet.
No, I am. But, you know, choice in business is not always the best course of action. So if you're selling clothes, sometimes demonstrating the clothes much better, showing quality, showing them out the same clothes in different colours and different ways is perhaps better than having dozens of different T-shirts. Better for your cash flow, and it gives you a chance to have a bit more fun with them. And you'll probably sell just as many. You'll sell 2 of the same colour, of 2 different colours instead of 2 different T-shirts.
And it's a better use of your space.
Well, it is, especially if you've got a small space. Look classy, you know, because that's where things are going. People want luxury brands. Pilot High, sell it cheap. That's the supermarkets, and it's getting harder to compete. So it's you know, it's just a thought.
We have a question here, Stephen. I don't know if you can help. If
I
you
can.
Don't mind. This is from Smoke Steve.
Okay.
And how you doing, Smoke Steve?
Across the pond.
Yes, our American brother from another mother. He says, Stephen, do you recommend leaving long-term investments alone or constantly making micro adjustments? For example, an IRA, a terrorist group. So maybe that's an American thing.
I think it's. I'm not an investor. I'm not. You know, I don't like to give advice on these things, but it's a good question. And one of the things in investment, you've got to decide where you're going with it. Do you want a long-term investment? And I think the danger of tweaking investments is that you often over tweak or over panic, because a lot of investments are long-term. You smooth off the curve, if you like. But if you're constantly chopping and changing, I personally would put, if I was going to take on investments, especially stock market investments, I would pick a fund. I'd pick some sort of hedge fund, some sort of fund that invest in lots of different companies across industries, and leave it to the brokers. I think tweaking is trying to beat the market, and sometimes the information you get isn't right, and it can be a false economy. Now, as I've not mentioned before, but I have a friend of mine who's been working here all day, and he's quite good on the stock market. He gets alerts every hour on his phone, and he does exactly that. He makes tweaks. He sometimes even buys some if he feels it's dripped. It's panic. It's so my personal thing is no, don't make short-term tweaks unless you see a real downward trend and get out, you know.
Well, we see that a lot with crypto, don't we? I know a lot of people that dip the toe in the water and they're checking it every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And nothing will trigger a panicky feeling.
My idea is start a business. I think in America they call it a side hustle. Start a business and put your energies into tweaking your product, into buying and selling. You know, a lot of people say, well, I haven't got a business, so I've got to look at these stock market investments and I've got to look at things. But I think in the main, I think start a business, you can get a far better return. I mean, what do you get in the stock market? 5%, 10%, you know, 3%. Whereas in your own business, you can be making that on every transaction. So, you know, if you want to have a chat about these things, I can always point you in some directions.
Not only that, just very, if you don't mind me jumping in, with your own business, apart from if things go drastically sideways, you are in control of what you earn.
Well, that's the thing. It's about
yours.
Control. And when people make tweaks on investments, it's because they've heard rumours or the newspapers are trying to drive you in a certain way. Or look at that game face thing when you know all the rumours and it was manipulated. And this is the
game
point.
Face.
But if you do want to trade on the stock market, I have a couple of insider dealing information I can give you, but I'll give it you in private. So if you want any insider dealing, just let me know. Where was I now? Do you know, Hayden? Here's a point. Do you like caviar?
I've not had it since I was about 19 or 20. I quite love it, but I was very, very drunk.
Do you know caviar sales have been soaring all through COVID and now?
I think it's because more people have had the middle class that's been enjoying.
Because the restaurants are closing, so they've got to get it anyway.
Well, not only that, they've got a little more disposable income at the moment.
Yeah, but it is more about that when they've been going to the restaurants and ordering caviar or having it on the toast or something, that the restaurants have been closed. So they've been getting it online, which in turn has led the supermarkets to stock it, which in turn has led people to sit on the shelves and think, oh, I'll have a go at that, which in turn has led the supermarkets to get cheaper versions to make it so you can buy a tub of caviar.
Which just goes to show people will buy anything, won't they?
Well, this is the point I've made in previous conversations, and certainly something that goes on to what I'm saying about generally choice, because people will buy what's on the shelves.
Absolutely.
You know,
I mean, if
just
you want
display it right,
the
and they
lowdown
will
on
buy
that,
it.
If the caviar is only £5,
yep,
for less than £1, you can get a pot of beef paste, which
it's
is
not the same thing,
but it's far more satisfying.
But if you walk into a shop and they've only got beef paste and tubs of caviar and it's displayed beautifully, you know, I mean, I personally have never had meat paste, but if it's next to sort of these types of things and you think, oh, what is that? It must be the same thing as caviar sort of thing.
Yeah, but I've never wanted a caviar sandwich.
No, it's nice on a bit of rye bread sometimes.
Do you genuinely like caviar?
I genuinely like it, yeah. I don't even mind the cheap stuff. I don't love it, but, you know, I think it's quite nice and on a bit of Rivita or something.
Is it the food or the experience?
It's just the food. It's got a nice salty taste to it, and it's quite a strong taste. Sometimes you just want that strong taste on something.
Strong, salty taste.
But I think the point is, it's basically what's on the shelf that sells. So if you're stocking stuff, I've never, in my experiences in business, it's never been, you know, find out what people want and put it on the shelf. I've always found that whatever's in the shelf, people will tend to come and look at, and they'll buy, and they'll buy variations of it as well if that's what it is. There's obviously, if people ask you to put things on the shelf, then I say if 2 or 3 people ask me for the same product, I'd stock it. But I think people just buy what's there. You know, there's complementary products, there's things that are not the same, don't directly compete, but it'll do instead of. But I just think that, you know, I mean, obviously find out what people do want and go with that trend. But it's also good to but the thing is, people will buy what's on the shelf. If you think about it, I bet you do it as well. Have you got salt and vinegar? No. Okay, I'll have the pickled onion.
I actually think it's really cool that caviar is going through sort of the roof. And that makes me kind of happy.
Yeah.
You know, because A, people obviously do have a little more disposable income. And B, it's one of those foods that was often seen as unattainable.
The thing is, it's not even expensive. You can get £1, £2 for these jars. But the general idea of luxury goods, this is where people are going. They want more for the money. They want something different. Do you know a few years ago in
It's
America,
like spicy food, isn't it, over here in the UK?
It's like what, sorry?
spicy food. I mean, I know curry's the national dish, but in general, where our tastes are becoming more exotic. You know, kids aren't brought up on, you know, mincemeat and potatoes anymore. They're brought up on Thai curries.
People want something a bit different as well.
Yeah, and I like that. That makes me happy.
Well, I think
as I eat my steak.
A few years ago, there was a drive in America to produce ugly cars because they were different. I mean, you look at some of these sports cars, some of these really expensive cars, and they're not that pretty, not really, but they're just different. People want different.
I think the Americans made ugly cars because they just weren't very good at making cars.
Maybe. They need bigger cars.
It was that time in the 90s, everything just went horrible.
Talking about making things and running businesses, what do you think it would be like if the world economy was run by teenagers? That'd be good, wouldn't it? Teenagers running businesses.
No.
It's because there's a I can't remember the name of the firm, but there's a UK company that does renewable energy, and they've decided to allow teenagers to go and run it and see what happens. I think someone's going to get electrocuted. And someone's going to get gassed.
This is going to end very
but
badly.
They did a series about this many years ago. I can't remember. I seem to remember. I don't know if you remember. But they're on the advisory board, and no adults are allowed. So I'd be I'll keep you informed if you're interested. Hayden, would you give 10% of your salary to charity? Do you like charity?
Tricky.
It is.
I agree with being charitable.
As long as it's someone else's money.
I don't agree with the large charities that employ hundreds of people to hound me on the street. I'd rather deal with them directly.
Yeah, there's all sorts of... It's a mixed thing, isn't it? I mean, I've looked at a lot of charities because I've acted for some. Some are very nice and do the job right and they're really good people. Others, not so much. And I've always wondered whether charity creates a downward spiral of dependency and really teach people, guide people, you know, if they want to be. But then again, you can't let people struggle just because they're their own worst enemy either. So I think it's difficult. But in business, quite often businesses will sell products and they'll say, for everyone you buy, we'll give so much to charity. Bear in mind there's some tax breaks as well along the way. But I'm not sure if that works. Do you think that works, Hayden? If you were going to buy something, would you be influenced because some of the proceeds go to charity?
I don't think it'd influence me to buy something. I think it's one of those things you think, oh, that's nice. But to be honest, I tend to give more to like animal charities.
Right. Well, it doesn't. You can. There's lots of things, lots of products. That do that as well.
I would be swayed if someone said, you know, like 10% or 5% of every purchase goes to, you know, animal shelters.
I think I might be swayed. It might make an difference to me if there was two products the same and one of them said, you know, pros, you know, we'll give so much to charity.
Yeah, it gives you that little feel good, doesn't it? That stuff in your face has somehow helped someone else without you having to do anything.
Yeah.
Which is very useful.
Yeah. But I'm not sure whether just having a better quality product and better image of the product might work better for you. Not as nice, but then again, no one said we're nice, we want to make money. So if giving to charity helps you make money, then go ahead and do it. Isn't that cynical, Hayden?
Perfectly reasonable.
But you know, when it does come to opportunity, though, what I find is a lot of people, when faced with an opportunity, lose it. And they lose it because they don't act quick enough. You know, if a deal's going to happen, it's going to happen quickly. If you've got to start running around and chasing and messing around, probably not going to happen. And if you procrastinate on something that's real, you know, it's not going to stay around for you. Nobody cares whether you have these deals or not. So do go for it. If you are offered a deal and you feel this is really good and you're not sure it's too good to be true or you're not sure whether you can jump into it, you can always let me know and I'll have a look at it for you. We do that type of stuff all the time, surprisingly.
To be fair, everything that comes across, you know, like my any deals that I come across, anything opportunities, I do actually have a chat with Steve. We chat most days anyway, but I do genuinely run it by him.
And I always say, no, it's not for you.
And I do it anyway.
No, because, you know, I mean, I was having a laugh with someone the other week and he said, should I do this? And I said, no. And he goes, why? You've not looked at the plan yet. So I said, but I know you're a bleeding idiot. So he goes, oh yeah, you're right. And he decided not to take it. But that's not the advice I always give. Making tax digital for VAT, don't forget that it extends to all VAT registered traders from April 2022. So if you've VAT registered, you're going to be pulled into the Making Tax Digital scheme. If you don't know what MTD is by now, please go and look it up, or contact me and I'll send you some information about it, explain it to you. And the VAT default surcharge, that was going to be replacing the penalty base of what when you submit returns late, has been it's been pushed back to January 2023. It won't make any difference. You've probably never heard of it either. It's just that you're gonna get fined if things go in late and taxed and interest on it. So now they're going to do exactly the same thing, but they're going to call it something different. So we're now coming up to finish time. I think it's been a very interesting show. I'm sure when we could chop this video up, we've got lots of different things that we can talk about. As always, if you do want to have a chat about anything, I'm here. It's not like I've got anything else to do. I am sat here 24/7. I never move out of this chair. I've got a bucket under it, and I'm sat here waiting for your calls. So I'd like to thank you very much for joining me. Hayden, thank you for just being alive.
Just being me and being fabulous.
And yes, everybody out there. And I'll see you next week. Thank you for joining me. Good night.